We're live. We're on. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this in the future. Or, well, actually, clearly nobody's watching it now because there's nobody here. Oh my God, just looking, my eyes are so red. Oh my God. Clearly, I didn't sleep well last night. But I slept really well yesterday, so we'll make up for it. Uh, So how's everybody doing? Okay, I feel weird talking to live stream when there's nobody watching, but that's okay. We're here for posterity's sake, right? Um, we're continuing. My name is Mark. I'll be your live stream presenter today. Welcome to the SilviaFindings weekly live stream event, show, whatever. Chance for you to get on here and have a chat with us. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything jewelry related, anything we're talking about, anything you have previously purchased, anything you'd like to purchase that you'd like to see us carry, we're here for you. This is the point. I wonder what we're going to do next year. We'll probably keep doing this, even though shows I think are starting back up again next year. We'll see what happens. I suspect there'll be more and more shows. I know we had some shows that were scheduled here in, where we're in British Columbia, right? If you don't know that, we're in British Columbia, Canada. And there were a couple of shows here, a local one in Vancouver and another one in Victoria, that were both canceled because there are restrictions on BC for meetings or events where there's expected to be more than a certain number of people. I'm not sure what the amount of people is. I mean, you have to have your vaccine card thing, and there's an app that you can use. And I mean, if you've been to the movies anytime since, well, I guess you'd have to be local, right? But there's an app on that you can get on your phone that will read the barcodes that you get from the BC government that says, yes, this person is vaccinated. And I'm not sure. I think the organizer was from Alberta, and they have different sensibilities there. So they said, okay, well, never mind. We're not getting that app. So I think they just canceled the shows until they can do them free of of government oversight, I guess. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Who knows? I just say that because we had a show in Calgary a couple months ago, and it was shocking. I shouldn't be talking about this. It has nothing to do with what we're doing, but it was shocking to me that I think of all the vendors, there were us. We were there. Myself, Nelson, Marble, were there, and there were one or two other vendors who we all wore masks, the whole time, but maybe 5% of the people who came to the show actually wore masks, and there was no masks or hand sanitizer at the door or anything, etc. So it was kind of like blowing my mind a little bit, but I guess that's Alberta for you. Neither here nor there. I shouldn't disparage 1/10 of the country who live there, and not, I think there are just some people just aren't willing to buy what the science is handing out. I don't. Oh God! Don't get into this discussion with people. Just don't. We have some great bales for you today. We're continuing on with the bales. We did the pendants and the rings, and we did all kinds of stuff, and now we're just continuing on with the bales. And I'm not going to talk about the global pandemic or well, you know what? I will talk a little bit just before I get into the bales for today, because the tray that we have for the bales today, like I said to Nelson a few minutes ago, that there's not any super crazy interesting ones. They're very very functional, basic, simple, elegant. settings, but so it should go pretty quick, and a lot of them are pretty similar, so it's mostly like, and this one looks just like that one, but anyway. But I am going to talk a little bit about the global logistics nightmare that's unfolding. You know, container traffic on boats, you know, lots of stuff comes from east to west, and not as much stuff goes from west to east, and that's normally fine because there are container companies that will load up these empty container and bring the empty containers back to Asia or wherever they're going, and that's fine. But there's a backup because of, you know, the pandemic. Because people are out, people are thin, you know, quarantine. Quarantines and other limitations that are placed on the dock workers. So LA, Los Angeles is one of the big ports, right, on the West Coast that stuff comes from the east, and there was a huge, or there have been huge backups there. Things, you know, getting to Los Angeles and then being stuck in a container on a ship, and there's like, if you've seen pictures of LA Harbor, you know, there's like all these container ships that are backed up there waiting to be offloaded. And it's getting better. I will say it's getting better. I think there's like, it's like 29 or 30% fewer now than there were, you know, a couple weeks ago, which is great. But it's still bad. It's still slow. And it's even worse going the other way. So you have these shipments in like Singapore and Hong Kong that there are all these container ships with empty containers that are waiting to be offloaded, and they're just sitting there in the water just waiting because nobody can get to them. You know, it's like, so now we're running into a situation where there aren't as many containers, empty containers ready, you know, to have stuff shipped. So a lot of freight goes under what's called freight consolidation, right? Where a carrier, FedEx, DHL, whatever, I think, will buy a container, and they will start filling it with your small packages. You know, like a lot of the times container shipments are, the company will just buy one container and they'll fill up all their furniture or the whatever with one container, and they'll ship a container from one thing to one business, from their business to another, and that's great. But the smaller containers, the 20-foot ones, oftentimes are filled up with stuff for lots of different people, from lots of different people. They're consolidated into that one container and then they're shipped. Well, it's not worth it for these shipping companies to ship those kind of consolidation containers until they're full, or mostly full, right? Until they've had enough. So you have this situation where these containers are you know, being filled up with goods that are ready to ship, and then there's no ships that are able to have them loaded onto, to have them brought over. So stuff gets stuck in like a limbo for days, could be weeks. You know, we had, and this is not just with cargo or sea cargo, it's also with air cargo too. They do, you know, companies do the same thing. I've said before, FedEx, DHL, you know, you see the lovely commercials with their FedEx plane taking off, and DHL, same thing. You know, the DHL, you've seen DHL planes, and they do have planes, and they do have, you know, cargo planes, but those don't go everywhere, and they don't have as many as would be needed to fulfill all of their shipping needs. So you, at the airport, at any given airport, if it's a whatever, Hong Kong or whatever, you'll have these air cargo containers. They're kind of rounded on the sides. I'm sure you've seen them if you've ever sat on an airplane on a tarmac waiting to get loaded. You have these big containers that get pushed in separately from the luggage. A lot of that air cargo comes on commercial flights, and there's just so few, still much fewer commercial flights available than there were before the pandemic. So you have all of these air freight consolidation containers that are waiting to get on flights, and you know, they might wait a day, they might wait 2 days, they might wait a week. We had a shipment that left our factory and got to the airport at Hong Kong and then waited there for 2 weeks before it could get on a plane. uh, just and then when it got here, it came by DHL, and their big hub, air freight hub, is in Los Angeles, and then it got stuck in Los Angeles for 4 days before it made it up here, and then it got stuck at the border waiting to get through. It arrived here, but then it was stuck in customs clearance for a couple of days. So things are slow all around. What I'm saying. Maybe that's a long way of saying, if you have any custom orders that you want done, that you want to be done for Christmas, get those orders in like now, because you're getting pretty close to the point. And I'm not sure what that is. I hate saying yes or no, but we're getting pretty close to the date where you're not going to get it by Christmas if you order it past that date. I would say, if you don't have your custom orders, what's the date today? 14th? 17th. Boy, if you don't have your order in within the next 7 to 10 days, you're not going to get it for Christmas. Just saying. Anyway, we'll try our best. Unless you're willing to pay for stupid expensive, shipping for just your one thing, we can get it done at the factory. Air freight, just the one piece. But anyway, neither here nor there. Let's get on to the bales, because that's why you're here, right? Why are you here? Okay, we will continue with our cataloging of the products. This is the 15th tray of bales that we're going to be doing. It should be pretty quick. And then I think I've only got about 3 or 4 more trays of bales to go, and then we're done. Then we'll have to figure out some other stuff to show you, because we've done just about everything. I think it's taken a year and a bit, a year and a half. What is this, 70 something, 72nd episode, 73rd episode? So 73 weeks, right? Yeah, we haven't done it every week, but most weeks. So a year and a quarter, a year and a half. Anyway, neither here nor there. Let's move on. I can switch this around. Let's get on to the thing. Again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, of course, if you share this video, I don't know, if you have somebody who, hey, this person would be interested in looking at bales, let us know. Oh, I think we'll know, right? Somehow we find out that you shared this video. So-and-so shared your video. But we'll send you a little polishing cloth as a thank you for that. Anything that you order today during the live stream, of course, you'll get your free standard shipping if it's a wholesale order or a high value order that we have to add, tracking and insurance on. That's not going for free. Just a regular, if it's a regular shipment of a couple things that we can just put in an envelope or a padded envelope or a little box with the postage on it. Great. What else? I think that's it. Yeah. We will move on to our first item is probably the quintessential standard bale. I'm going to say that a lot because a lot of these bales that I'm showing you are very slight variations on this very simple bale, right? There's a little, that little shape, right? I call that a chevron, right? So it's a little chevron bale with a tiny pinch bale in that. It's probably, so you're looking at something 4 millimeters wide, maybe, to go in there. Maybe, nah, I think 4 millimeter would be maybe as thick as 6 millimeter if the hole is pretty close to the edge, right? And again, I'm going to say it again, even though I risk, getting boring. What? People often concerned about how much material, right? Like this pin on the inside of the pinch bale, that's probably only 2.5, maybe 3 millimeters long. And yeah, maybe 2. And people are like, yeah, but it's only holding on by that amount. And it's really not. There's, I don't know, a little structural physics going on there, right? So the hole is perpendicular to that pin, and the pin can't bend inside the hole. So you know, with the weight pulling straight down, it's not like you can pull this off. You'd probably break the stone before you broke it off that bale anyway. So pinch bales are strong. Give them credit. This one is LJ 257 with a retail price of $1.70 and a wholesale price of $1.39. This might be a good place to talk about the difference between the retail and the wholesale price. The retail price is whatever, just the price, the retail price. And the wholesale price is the price that's available to you if you spend, and the only criteria to get the wholesale price is you just need to spend $150 at the wholesale level. So you need to buy, what is this, like 100 of these would be $139, so probably like 115 or so of these to get to the 100. Now, you don't have to spend the $150 all on one thing, right? You just mix and match, but it has to be 150 at the wholesale level, right? So if you bought 100 of these, you wouldn't get, even though if you bought the wholesale would be $170, that doesn't get you the wholesale price because the wholesale price is $1.39. So 100 at wholesale would be $139. So you'd need to spend $11 more at the wholesale level to get that. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense, right? Anyway, our next item is a very similar thing. It's got a kind of like a scalloped bale, pinch bale. And this also is probably 4 to 6 millimeters thick. You know, would be your stone or your piece of stained glass or whatever you're cutting. Just put a hole through. A little standard triangular bale. This is LJ212 with a retail price of $462 and a wholesale price of $324. And why does that look very red? That's weird. It's a trick of the light. Because here, right? So when you see them, they're actually nice and shiny silver. But I don't know why. Maybe it's just from, you know, when we do shows and stuff, people try them, feel them up. This bale's a little bit tarnished. Had to have been in there for years. Here's another spiritual successor to the first one, right? It's another slightly larger, you know, chevron style bale. LJ 389 with a retail price of $3.32 and a wholesale price of $2.47. Right. Another good width bale, probably 4 millimeters, maybe 6 at the most. Here's one that's kind of a little incongruous because it's not in the right place, but we have a couple of these. This is just like a bale that you would use to attach to, you know, something to, right? So the bale is the point of this whole thing. It's not a pinch bale. It just has a loop, so you would dangle something from the bottom of that loop, and then that is what you'd put the chain through or your cording material, whatever, and that's what it looks like, right? It's not, I don't know, sectioned thing. This is nice and thick, very substantial. And of course, it hangs upside down on the card because that's how life goes. LJ211C. So I suspect that there are at least 2 other LJ211s. LJ211, then LJ211B, then LJ211C. Probably different sizes of that same style. This one is retail LJ211C. Again, a retail price $844 and a wholesale price of $532 each. And I hate doing that because it looks like it's upside down. You know, the way it dangles from the card, just because the weight of this thing holds it down. But neither here nor there. Our next item is a very special little pinch bale, right? It's tiny, you know, V thing. Apologies for that thing where they're tied in there. And it's another chevron. This is a really tiny version of that first one, right? It's a little bit smaller still. Boy, I wouldn't put anything thicker than 4 millimeters through that. And you'll probably have to adjust the width of those pins a little bit, maybe. You know, you can cut those down a little bit. You don't want to cut them too much, but you can cut them down a little bit. LJ207 with a retail price of $2.34 and a wholesale price of $1.68. Cute little chevron tabs, I guess, whatever we call them. What do we call them? Flanges? I think we decided last week we were going to call them flanges, even though... LJ215 with a retail price of $2.79 and a wholesale price of $1.86. And again, same chevron shape, just different size from the others. Again, pretty small. I wouldn't put anything much bigger than about 4 millimeters in there. Now this one, here's our first one with bling today. Yay! I probably should have saved it for last. Oh, no, I have a kind of special one that I'm saving for last. LJ705 with a retail price of $11.79 and a wholesale price of $7.87. This is the pin goes all the way through and out. There's a hole in the back of the veil there. Right, you see that? With this cute little ring of cubic zirconias in the shape of a heart. Or a heart-shaped elements, right? Half with cubic zirconias, half not. It's got that pretty wide cage bail at the back, right? So you can put something probably 4 to 6 millimeters wide through there. Very super, very cool. This is far and away the tiniest pinch bail we have. LJ293 with a retail price of $2.39 and a wholesale price of $1.50. It's got that standard V bail, and the pinch bail is just a tiny little circle. It's more like an oval, but it kind of looks like a circle, right? And this, boy, you'd probably want to use this for something like if you have some a shell piece with a hole near the top. To put that in. There's not many stones you're going to find that are cut that thin in the slab. Definitely not glass. So, yeah. But if you have shell or something that you want, a lot of these pinch bails are way too wide to use with shell, where this would be perfect. You know, a lot of the pins, the ones where the pin goes through out the back, right? Like this one, right, where the pin goes through, and then there's a hole in the back. You know, these are also good for really thin things. You could push these down so they're almost right up against each other. So you can use those kind of things for shell or things that are super thick or super thin. But the other regular pinch bails, I think the only limiting factor is how wide you could pull it open. You know, like this one. LJ319 with a retail price of $6.44 and a wholesale price of $4.15. This got some lovely graduated circles that are all bound together. A cute little bail at the top, right? So the bail becomes the cute thing, and a little chevron pinch bail. Probably something 4 millimeter, maybe at the most, maybe 6 at the most. Thickness wise to go through there. If you're ever unsure and you need measurements for the distance between the pins and the top of the throat, just let me know. Happy to measure those for you. LJ377 with a retail price of $8.18 and a wholesale price of $5.30. You know, a lot of these we discovered, I don't know, quite, not really by accident, but just by people asking, because we sell these, obviously, a lot of these at shows and people in the showroom. But it seems like we never really sell very many on the website. We just discovered that there are a lot of them that are missing from the website. So we've been taking pictures, and we're going to be adding those very shortly. There's probably like 80 or 90 items that are not on the website. I'm not sure how that happened, but we're fixing it. And, you know, maybe will take the time to do those measurements, like what would be the thickest piece you could put in it, how far is the distance between the pins and the shoulders, and I don't know if there's any other information that you think would be helpful. Let me know. This is a nice, very lovely, plain, simple V bail with a long, slim pinch bail, kind of a chevron. This is a smaller version of another. We have some bigger versions of that are really popular. This the good thing about this is that it's nice and thick, so you can get a good, thick slab in there. Something probably 6 millimeters thick, easily go in there. And if the hole is pretty far away from the edge, you can definitely do that. Like with I noticed with furnace glass, or they don't call it furnace glass, they call it blah blah blah. God, when you fill fused glass, when they do fused glass, a lot of times those, are not made with a hole when you're fusing the glass in a kiln, but then afterwards you can drill them. And you can't drill a hole really close to the edge of a glass piece unless you have special equipment, drill bits that pour water on them and stuff. So just like normal Dremel, what do they call them? Like a vertical press kind of Dremel attachment, you can do, but you don't want the holes to be really close to the edge. So that's what these are good for. The holes can be pretty far away from the edge. LJ 852 with a retail price of $5.27 and a wholesale price of $3.51. Again, another very similar. These are not all together in the tray, but they should be, because they're all almost identical shape, but they're just different sizes, right? Different thicknesses, different sizes of that bail, that chevron bail up at the top. Here's a cute one, a very interesting one. LJ 832 with a retail price of $1.13 and a wholesale price of 68 cents. Now this doesn't have that V bail, it's just a loop at the top. So you'd have to attach your own bail or a loop or whatever. And it's just got this cute little inverted oval teardrop with a dot down at the bottom. And the dot is where the pins come in. Again, very small piece. Maybe something that's shell or something thin like that would work great for that. Nice little tiny one. Here's another one. You know what? I know it's going to happen. You're going to be looking at these things and you'll be saying, but Mark, you're just showing me the same thing over and over again. And it looks like it, but I promise they're different sizes, right? Okay, well, those are pretty close to the same. Oh boy. LJ, let me just move right along. LJ 928 with a retail price of $4.45 and a wholesale price of $2.98. Another little chevron bail with a cute little triangle thing. That one got bent, boy, from being in the trays. Life in the trays. Let's just see. Oh, so this one is slimmer, a little bit longer. Again, there's so many different permutations of this very simple, classic, what I call chevron bail. I think the bail part at the top of this bail is a little bit thicker and quite a bit bigger, quite a bit longer than the other ones and the smaller one, right? Even though the bail itself may be about the same length, it's also a little bit slimmer. I don't know, a little bit more heavy duty. LJ 929 with a retail price of $7.31 and a wholesale price of $4.88. And these are the kind of things that if you're interested in these bales, it's helpful to see them all next to each other, right? So you could see exactly what size you need, exactly what size you want. LJ 796 with a retail price of $5.45 and a wholesale price of $3.82. And seeing them all side by side in person is kind of the reason why we do these live streams. Not you know, because we're engaging entirely with the audience as we're doing it, as would be cool. But the point really is just to be able to showcase all of these things so you can see them all together and get a little bit of information from them. I love this wide chevron kind of shape. This is for when you have, it's not very thick, so probably, I don't know, 4 millimeters or so, which is really good if you have like, you know, you've drilled into a piece of glass or something, and maybe the edges of the hole aren't very beautiful, and there's maybe some cracks. This would definitely cover those. Very cool. Very functional. LJ 886. With a retail price of $11.27 and a wholesale price of $6.76. That's 670. Yes, 676. And this, I don't know, whale tail bones. I don't know, whatever. It's a nice big wide thing. I think the opening in that is probably about 8 millimeters wide or so. So you could definitely get some crazy, huge, thick pieces set with this. The pins, obviously, you know, you maybe not need them to be quite so long. You can cut those down if you need them to be. And yeah, can't go wrong. This is a pretty thick, pretty sturdy, substantial bale. Our next item, LJ 983, with a retail price of $5.11 and a wholesale price of $3.07. This is there's a ring at the top instead of the V bail. It's another scalloped flange on the things. This is one of the ones where the pin goes through and out the back. So this can alternately be used for stuff that's very, very thin or stuff that's very, very thick. You know, or as long as it's thick enough that you can get this and you can have a little piece of this to fold over and burnish into the end of that. I should do a video on how to do that because I've seen people do it and it looks, well, let me be frank, it looks ugly if you do it wrong. But there's some very simple tricks to be able to do it, to do it so that it doesn't look janky. LJ 985 with a retail price of $9.78 and a wholesale price of $6.11. It's cute little cubic zirconias all the way around there. The little bale and the little box, and it's got that kind of a tab bale with a pin through, right? And this is just bent down so it'll fit in the thing. Probably people have mangled it, but I just love this with the bling. You can never go wrong with a little bling on that. It kind of gives you the impression of like very 3D, you know. It's got that little pattern in the center, and then the pattern is repeated on the outside in silver, and then it's enclosed in a box of cubic zirconias. Like a halo, I think they call that. Here's a little bit bigger version of one of the other fluted flange. It's a fluted flange. I'm just making it up as I go at this point, right? So regular standard V thing with that scalloped or fluted, you know, flange. I think pinch bale. Nice big wide opening. That's probably 8 or 10 millimeters wide. So you can get some super thick pieces set with this. LJ 878 with a retail price of $5.25 and a wholesale price of $3.29. And here's another, going back to more of those chevron, plain old chevron, just so many different sizes and shapes. LJ 844 with a retail price of $6.44 and a wholesale price of $4.82. Again, pretty good opening, probably 4 millimeters wide. That you can get through there, maybe 6. Who knows? And here's another one. I know you're thinking, but Mark, it's exactly the same thing that you just showed me. It's not. They're just a little bit different sizes, right? You can see this one is a little bit shorter, just a little bit less wide. LJ 729 with a retail price of 607 and a wholesale price of 485. So it's a little bit less expensive, right? Just because it's a little bit smaller. But otherwise, it's pretty much identical thing. Here's our penultimate bale for the day. Nice triangular bale. This one is a little bit weird, not weird, a little bit different than the others because this is a side-by-side, right? Most of these other ones, the hole would be in the front and the pin goes through a hole in the front and the back of the piece. This one where the holes are on the side. We have a couple of these. They're not all together in the same tray, though they probably should be. Because a very specific use for these kind of things, like maybe if you have briolets, you know, the kind of stones, gemstones that are like a teardrop with a hole in the top that goes, you know, through the side. Those, you can use those front to back or side to side. I kind of like the look of them side to side because it gives a little bit more of a framework around those things. And this is just very simple lines and dots, right? You know, kind of framework for that thing. Very cute. Did I say the SKU? LJ 789 with a retail price of $1.94 and a wholesale price of $1.18. Here's our last bale of the day, and I saved it for last because, I don't know, just a sucker for marcasites. LJ 882 with a retail price of $12.71 and a wholesale price of $7.63. This is a split bale. Let me just open this up so you can see the two pins. These ones are overlapping because they've been stuck in a tray for so long. They've been, right? So there you go. Pretty good size opening. Probably you could put something 6 millimeters, maybe a little bit thicker on that. It gets thinner up at the top, and you probably will be able to bend this over the edge if you need to, but you need to keep these two pins parallel to each other. Don't forget when you're doing it. But the beauty of this, of course, is the leaf in the front with those marcasites. Actually, yeah, those are not. Those are faux marcasites. I think those are black cubic zirconias in there. With that little bead and bright cut sort of setting, right? All the little dots and the vein of the leaf down through the middle. Very cute if you need some bling that's not white, you know, bling. That clear, shiny cubic zirconia. Some nice dark stones in there. It's kind of rare. We don't have a lot of items with colored stones in them. But this is one. Again, LJ 882 with a retail price of $12.71 and a wholesale price of $7.63. And that's it. That's the last one. That is tray 15 down. So thanks for I don't have any big outgo thing to talk about. You know, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything having to do with jewelry making, it doesn't necessarily have to be referring to semi-mounts or whatever. If you're, you know, having a casting problem of your own or a soldering problem or anything, you know, we're a resource for you to use at your leisure. And I'm talking to myself right now because nobody's watching this live stream. So why would you? We will see you, I guess, on YouTube if you're watching this thing. And if you're still watching this on YouTube, why? We're done. We're not doing things. Okay, I will see you next week. We'll do this again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, and extrapolate it out to wherever you are, anywhere in the country or the world. Because it looks like we always get people from overseas watching here. I'm just guessing. In the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of the planet, take care of your mental health, and we will see you next week. Alrighty, bye-bye. Finish. I can press this button.